A very simple definition of racism is this: treating someone differently because of the color of their skin. I know that's very simple, but it sums it up quite well. Where I'm from in Harlan County, Kentucky, believe it or not, down there in the Appalachian Mountains, there was more diversity there than there is here where I live now in Independence, Kentucky. Though we are closer to an urban area here in Independence, Kentucky, down in Harlan County on the eastern side of the county, we were basically made up of three coal towns nestled close together. When those coal towns were started, a lot of immigrants came into the area to be a part of what was considered a great thing to be a part of, these brand new coal companies, coal towns. And because of that, there was a lot more diversity. I grew up where my best friend was a guy by the name of Larry Wilson. Now listen, there wasn't a lot of black kids in my class, but he was one of them, and we hit it off so well from day one. We joke even when we do run into each other and talk, like at the high school reunions, we would joke about how we would barter parts of our lunches with each other every day. I definitely wanted that oatmeal cream pie if he had one, and I would trade him almost anything in my lunchbox to get that. So we had a great relationship. I remember the first day of third grade, I walked in and set my stuff on my desk right next to the desk where Larry Wilson was. And I was immediately moved to another part of the room because my second grade teacher had warned my third grade teacher that I talk too much to Larry Wilson. Imagine that. For those of you who know me, why would they think I talk too much? Anyway, that was the kind of relationship Larry and I had. But now when I look back honestly at my years through elementary school and middle school, we were good friends, but we slowly grew apart. And I believe one of the reasons we slowly grew apart were because of some of my failures of not understanding the issue of racism. I made mistakes, and Larry had to call me out on a mistake or two that I made. Things that I would repeat that were very insensitive, that I just heard and I didn't know any better, and I would repeat it right there to him. And they were hurtful. And I grew up in an area, though it was diverse, it didn't make a difference. There was still racism. There were still issues. There is a very powerful passage in the book of Romans that I want to read for you because as you hear it, you're going to find this to be true. It speaks perfectly to our current circumstances. Let me read it for you. Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 9, says, "Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." I love this passage. And in it, I find three things that literally all of us can do to confront the issue of racism and strive to live a peaceful life that will change your neighborhood. Let me list those three things for us right now. First, humbly learn from those who have been hurt by racism. Humbly learn from those who have been hurt by racism. Right now, we need to use these two things God gave us way more than this one thing that God gave us. And right now, there's a lot of strong opinions and feelings and emotions. And I don't know about you, but I'm just trying to do my best to be a really, really good listener. Secondly, do a reality check on your own heart. Because I believe more than we realize, we have gotten so used to a certain kind of perspective and a certain way of saying things and explaining things that may more than we realize are not helping and may actually be hurting. This is something we have to pray about. Lord, check my heart, search my heart, see if there's some perspective that is off in my life, and help change that. Lord, actually perform a change in me, perform a transformation in me, because I want to live a peaceful life and I want to get this right. That's what we need to begin doing as well. And then the third thing is this: overcome evil with good. Overcome evil with good. When I look at what's been happening over the past couple of weeks, in the early part of the protesting, things got pretty violent. And I was worried about that as well, because the thing is, I've got so many friends I care about that are of a different skin color. I did not want the issue of racism to somehow be lost, because most people were more concerned about the vandalism and the looting. There were businesses here in the greater Cincinnati area that took a loss because of the vandalism and looting. What was really cool for me to watch was especially one of those businesses actually boarded up their windows that had been broken, but also put something very loving and caring on that wooden board, helping people to know, we see you, we hear you. They didn't put on here, how dare you break my window and I'm mad at you. Instead, they're like, we understand why you're hurting, and we're here and we're listening. And I thought that was a really cool response. And I believe that what we read in Romans 12 is exactly what God is trying to teach us, to be humble. And rather than, hey, you did this and I'm mad, so I'm going to do this to you. Oh, you did this to me? Well, then I'm going to do this back to you. Do you see that God is trying to break that cycle and use His church to break that cycle? We need to be a people that is humble before one another and submits to one another. And when someone really does something that hurts us, yes, we don't just let that go, but we overcome that with good. And that's very possible to do. That's why I'm okay with the movement of peaceful protesting. Yes, we need the world to pay attention to what's been happening, and we need to have conversations, and we need to start doing something about a racism issue that did not just show up a couple of weeks ago. It has been in existence for a really, really long time. While at the same time as we are trying to find peaceful solutions to that, we need to keep the peace. You know, right now I've got friends who are in law enforcement that I've been concerned about because they're having to go in dangerous situations and make sure these protests remain peaceful. And that's a difficult thing too. You know what? This isn't one of those, this is us versus them. That's not what's going on at all. This is all of us together trying to find a way to make a difference and to transform our neighborhood. What we see God's Word describing is how to live a peaceful life. We can do that. We can strive to do that by always being in a stance that says, I'm going to do what is good. And no matter if there's evil right here or bad decisions right here, I'm going to do what is good. And yeah, there's going to be times when I'm mad about what's happening. I'm mad about that evil that happened, and I am not happy with that. That should not happen. Absolutely. We see in Romans 12, we should hate what is evil. The Bible's not saying be okay with what is evil, but we don't overcome that evil with more evil. We overcome that evil with good. And you know what? We need wisdom in how to do that. That's why we must be hitting our knees. And we start with us. God, show me where I'm wrong. Show me where I've made mistakes, and change my heart first, and then use me to change my neighborhood. That's what we need to do. And that's why we have rephrased our next steps in this way. There's two parts of this next step. This is what you're deployed to do. You're deployed to, number one, let someone else speak into your life. And then number two, give some of your life to someone else. I would encourage you to make this your summer goal, to let this happen at least once a week your entire summer. Let someone else speak into you. Have you given someone permission to call you out, if you will, in a loving way, but to call you out and point out things in you that they see can be improved with their prayers and their help and their loving encouragement, and also, most importantly, by the power of God in your life? Are you letting someone speak into you? In fact, I would encourage you to answer this question. Who is someone you know that you could begin a conversation with that's going to help you do better in this issue of racism? Do you have someone that you could say, I need you to speak wisdom into me here. I need you to help me search my own heart to see if maybe I need to make some changes in my own life about this. But then not only that, give some of your life away. Do good. Be someone who is doing something or saying something good that literally helps someone else. And I don't know what that looks like in your context, but if you're praying for God to show you how you can do that, then I guarantee you He's going to lead you in that direction. And He's going to open your eyes to something He wants you to do. Something very simple where you can encourage someone else and bless someone else in order to bring some goodness into your neighborhood. Bring something that is godly, something that points people to the love and the light and the hope of Jesus right where you live. That's what it means to be the deployed church. You know what? It's not that complicated. We don't have to know all the answers. All we have to do is to be someone who's humble and willing to let others speak into us, and we can be ready to do something good in the name of Jesus right where we live.